Hey everyone, Hecklerus Prime here, and welcome to 5 Minute Fantasy Grounds, where we spend 5 minutes talking about how to do one thing in Fantasy Grounds. Our topic today is how to set up limited use abilities on your character sheet. So this is different from spells. These are abilities granted to you by your class. So we're talking about rage, we're talking about key points, we're talking about smite, things like that. So a really good example that sets up a couple different things is a second level half-orc fighter. So I have one here conveniently named Fighter. I went super creative on that one. Straight out the gate, we see that this fighter has 3 abilities that we will have to set up. So the first is Action Surge, which refreshes on a short rest. Then we have Second Wind, which again refreshes on a short rest. And then because Fighter is a half-orc, we also have Relentless Endurance, which refreshes on a long rest. So we're going to set all 3 of these up real quick, and I will show you how to adjust what rest they refresh on and how many you get per day. So this is all done from the Actions tab on the character sheet. So the first thing we need to pay attention to is down here in the bottom right-hand corner, we have Edit List. Go ahead and click on that. And then next to it, the little star is Add Power. And we want to add a new power group. Once that group is added, we can stop editing the list. Now, by default, it's going to name it Powers, but immediately in this field, you can click in here and rename it anything you want. So we're going to name this Fighter Powers. And when I click off, we see it renames it. So now we know everything under Fighter Powers is exclusively from the Fighter class. The first thing we're going to focus on is I want to do Second Wind first. Now the next thing we need to be cognizant of is down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the Actions tab, we see Mode and Display, and each of these have a couple options. Display is more for effects and things. I'll get into that in another video, but right now we care about Mode. So the Standard Mode just shows you everything you have available for your character. The other 2 modes are Preparation and Combat. The one we care about first is Preparation. So when we click, we immediately see some stuff opens up. We can now say whether or not our weapons are equipped or worn. We can adjust how many spell slots we have per day. And then we see under our Fighter Powers group, we can now put in a certain number of powers that reset on a rest, on a certain rest. So Second Wind is once per short rest. So in the use per day, we're going to type in once. Click on the box until it says rest, and now once per rest, we have a Second Wind. We're going to go ahead and add in Action Surge. Again, at second level, you only get 1. So what we can do to create that new power is you can either right-click and say Create Item, and then now we can say Action Surge. But if you look, what it did is it created a new item back in that Powers group again. So we're going to have to rename Fighter Powers all over again, and then it'll take it down. It gets rid of the Powers group, and it adds in Second Wind. And again, or Action Surge. Again, that is once per short rest. Now, the other way you can add an ability is go back to the Edit List button, and then right under Fighter Powers, hit the green Add Item, and it adds it directly in, so you don't have to retype the group. Either method works. It depends on how you want to do it. So the last one we're going to do, it isn't really a fighter power, but we're going to leave it in here for the purposes of this video. Relentless Endurance. Leave the edit mode, go back to preparation, and now we can say once per day. So Fantasy Grounds treats daily as a long rest, and it treats rest as a short rest. So now we have entered in our powers. Now remember that third mode I was talking about is combat. When we're in our combat mode, it shows us only what we have available to us in combat. So these are your options in combat. And I say that because as you use a power, so we used Relentless Endurance, it disappears. And let's say we used our Second Wind and our Action Surge as well. They're gone now. They're not available to us in combat because we have used those powers. And this is the key of what we were trying to get to. Now, if we click our mode back to standard, we can see they're still here. If we click them back to preparation, we can change how many per day we get. So from standard is how we're going to refresh them. So you yourself as a player can either come in here and check them to say that they're back, or as a dungeon master, they'll be able to right click on your sheet and give you rest. So I'm going to go to combat mode to show that off a little bit. So I am in dungeon master mode. I can right click on the character sheet and I'm going to grant a short rest. and as expected, we see Action Surge and Second Wind have returned. Now, as a Dungeon Master, I'm granting a long rest, and there comes Relentless Endurance. So that's the end of that video. That is how you can set up limited use abilities for your character sheet. You can put them under different groups, so if you have a magic item that can only be used a certain number of times per day, or if you multi-class and you're getting powers from different locations, you can go ahead and always type that in. Like I could very easily come in here now, and instead of fighter powers, I can rename it racial abilities, and then that's going to create a new racial abilities group. And then these groups are also collapsible if you wanted, but that's a little side note. So hopefully that helps you out. If you enjoy my video, like, subscribe, whatever, and stay tuned for another video. Be sure to send in any comments or any questions for some things you'd like to see. All right, thanks. Have a great day and enjoy your fantasy grounds.